And welcome back to the Charlotte Major here, and this is where the double round robin is starting to take its effect, because these two teams that are about to be playing against each other have played already yesterday.
They've already done that. They're back round for a second swing. Yeah, that's right. We're finally finding ourselves in the second half of the group stage, and it's one where Wolves are, unfortunately for them, coming off the back of a little bit of a slow Astralis versus Wolves. And if you missed the first time round, well, it was close. An 8-7 on Cafe Dostoevsky that Astralis were able to take. But now is the time. If they can cement the full 3 points here, they are looking pretty much queued up for a journey out of these groups.
Yeah, I was checking at the Sprabuni stats that come by every so often. I believe if Astralis is able to take a win here, they have like a 99% chance of being secured for a playoff spot. It's pretty good. They're the only team that haven't been beaten yet.
99% of a chance, and to be fair, there's one man who's doing a huge amount of that, and it is a player I think we're all excited to have a look, so much so that we gone and made a very nice video summing him up. Let's have a look at Iconic.
Iconic just didn't have that sort of impact game that we saw him have on the Sonics last year.
Iconic, who just joined not even a month ago at this point in time, there is a lot of question marks.
Iconic is just playing with fire.
He also is wildly inconsistent.
I think that just speaks a lot to the potential that Iconic has.
When I first met Iconic, this dude, all he did was talk to me like he was crazy, like just talking out the side of his neck.
Yo! Were you mouthy, bro?
Right after that Iconic clutch in the 1-on-2, they were all firing.
Iconic going massive, a quad kill for him in that round.
And he gets the pull! Iconic with the ace!
Iconic, technically, he saves his entire team.
Ready to make them talk again. See you in Charlotte.
I think we hear them. There it is. So this is what they were doing during their game with BDS yesterday, and it's one of my favorite quotes of anybody from this tournament so far. After their first round win that they took from BDS, the thing that I heard was, "We're coming for you, France."
They did come for them.
They came for France, and now they're here to take just a little bit more of that French pie. And Wolves, to be honest, they gave them a bit of a run for their money, but if Astralis put in a hefty performance here against the Wolves that have already been sort of pushed aside today, I mean, that gives them all the momentum of a team that has the bravado that fills this stadium before it's even got people in it.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like, they're so loud every single time they win a round. As soon as everything goes their way, you will hear it. And you will definitely experience that either through these player cams that we're watching every so often, or later if they would be to make it to the crowded grand stage. Astralis, the team that was able to pick up 2 wins yesterday, the only team that was able to do so, and surely will look to forward that current progress by picking up a 3rd as well.
Well, that's sort of the position they're in right now, because we might have teams cemented, and this is a team that desperately needs some points, because if they don't get some of their own, well, that 3rd place is looking a little bit, unfortunately, locked in. Sure, there's still technically 9 points up for grabs. There's still a run they could make all the way to the top if things fall together, but you got to look at how they've been performing and what they need to do right now, and where they're going to be doing it. We've obviously had them twice on Cafe. Not for a 3rd.
Okay.
Theme is where we're going instead. It's a 2 for 2 on Astralis over the past 3 months, and on the side of Wolves, oh, we don't know. We ain't seen it.
Now, the theme park is not really a map we see often during the European leagues. It's a bit of unknown ground, and the question then here is this a slip-up in the ban phase, or is this the Wolves who have been hiding something within them here and are looking to bring it out in full force against Astralis? Because we said it multiple times now, they need these points. They just lost from BDS in 3rd position up against the number 1 in the group here, Astralis, who have a very good opportunity of securing themselves a spot at the end of the day.
That's it. That's what their eyes are locked in. They could be our first team locked in based on the fact that they were our only team that was double successful. Yesterday, they were the only ones to pull themselves 2 sets of points, and, well, one's on the side of the win. Let's not hold anybody any longer. Let's find ourselves heading to theme. And let's see what Wolves have here, because it's not just got to be good against this Astralis, which we still hear on the other side of this arena. It's got to be great.
Starting to hear them again here, and as the bands are starting to play out, the first one gone is a Maverick. And I can understand that. I mean, very often, for example, let's say or the throne room, it is difficult to take control of. And a Thatcher and a Maverick ban are going to be making that even harder. Like a Twitch or a Kali needs to be coming into play now if you really want to be opening that up, because there is a lack of vertical possibility there.
I think that's always the thing as well, is what you get from theme is still developing. What you get from a map where when it was last in the pool, it was a very different meta. It was a very slow meta. It was quite a late push meta. It was awkward. It was uncomfortable. We've got a bit of pace. We've got a bit of speed now. And we've actually got a slightly different preference in general terms in sort of inter-region play. In the Throne, although we see it as the first on our board, for a lot of teams to sort of fall into a second or a third spot because of what the second story can now offer.
Yeah, the second story is slowly being developed more, but it's something you often see as you go through a map. First, you have that bottom floor, that basement, like if you look at Clubhouse, for example, CCTV. It works really well for the defenders, but slowly they're starting to look towards other sides, and they're starting to see the opportunities, the possibilities, and find that they might be more consistent elsewhere. And the same is sort of happening with Theme Park here, where, well, Throne will be chosen first by Wolves. Cade is off the board. You gotta say the Thatcher and the Maverick are also gone. So opening up these walls will rely on grenades being tossed up from overhead if it wasn't for these rotations to be made into barrels.
Okay, Wolves, let's not beat around the bush too much. It was a bit of a rough start to the day. Sure, you almost pulled it back. 6-5, when you look at it, isn't the end of the world, but it was against BDS that were quite handily dispatched by this Astralis team yesterday. You always know Astralis is going to be a fight. You learned that lesson. So it's time to see how much of a distance you can put in here. You want at least 4 of your defenses. Yeah. Anything less than that on theme spells a little bit of trouble. 5 is pretty good, but it's still not locked in. That's still the nature. Although we're not in the same sort of hefty defense thing, if it's your first time watching theme, it is a big map. It is a strong structure, and it requires a little bit more from the attackers than other maps do.
Now there's 3 staircases up, so that means there is plenty of possibility to go for flanks early or later on for those defenders, and also plenty of rooms, of course, to hide in. And Mowgli, he's waiting on the other side of the map. Mowgli has no clues. These hatches are going to be opened up. He might just as well be the very first one into a bit of a gunfight here. No, Iconic just sees the bandit slip out there. He's going to be not able to pick him up.
Suffers a little bit on a scrape. I think leant back in towards the window. He knows the pressure's coming, and he sprays! DP fire taken through the wall, the pre-fire in the angle. He was gifted a bit of a lucky escape there, and we talked about him needing to be a player that shows up. The kit's been traded, but look at the Astralis player positions. Iconic. He's now on the Nook. He's going to see if he can push in. J9 is on the cover on the far side. Shuttler's obviously in a position to maybe bounce a grenade down here, but it's a very awkward drop since the changes of what is around that hatch on the second story. They're still droning it. They're still finding the fight. There's P4, though, around the back stairs. All the attention paid to one player, and they now lose Forest on the far side as well. They've really got to try and cement at least something here. Iconic is a man that's going for a bit of a lead on the charge all the way down towards Split on the far side. The reveal of the player inside Drug, but Mowgli is just still moving, still getting out of there, still finding himself some safety. Slips by twice.
Again, trying to reveal some fire backwards, though. Knows Iconic is inside, and grenade gets tossed out. Will just force them away from the aggressive angle that was being played by Mowgli, but he's not going to be worrying too much about it here. J90 is going to be jumping in from the Drug Lab. Is looking to find some of these footsteps that have a bit more freedom, a bit more knowledge about where these members of the Wolves might be, but it seems like every single one of them is going to be on the side. And you see that yellow case icon up atop there, 20 meters away. It still dropped 45 seconds, and they need to recover that.
Wow, that's the big ask right now. Shuttle is going for the root and the roam. He's got it back in the hand, but there's still, as I said, a lot of structural work you need to do. You can't really just throw yourself into split. It's a little bit too awkward, and Dragon Door's even worse. So Iconic's taken the lesser of two evils, and Shuttle's taken a huge amount of shrapnel from the floor there. The C4 gets a big bite. They don't quite have it locked in. Mowgli drifts his way back, finds a second for the round. 15 seconds. Both doors still locked pretty much with the gunfire, with all of the other fire that comes through. At least a spray through. J90 gets one on the way out the door, but with Smokes no health and a smoke canister in front of him, it's a choice of death or death at this point. They can't get an access. They're held at bay. There's at least a swing through at the end, but time gives Wolves their first.
There it is, some kills came through, but literally a single tick from the smoke canister would have taken them both out there, and with that still being active. This one though, Mowgli just realizing, okay, they might be coming through the door, goes for a wild pre-fire and is able to find success. It just starts things off, and from there on they can continue snowballing. And Rise, he was already ready. He's sitting with the fist up there. He's like, we got this, yeah, there we go. The time runs out. And that is round one for the Wolves.
Attackers need to locate.
Now, as we said at the beginning of this, it is a map that plays well into the defender's hands. Those early strikes on the way out the door, you could see entirely what Astralis were doing, but we've also got to, you know, if we're going to talk about how Wolves struggled in their first game, in the opener, they also have that first game as energy. They've had a conversation, they've had what is the equivalent of a warm-up. You expect them to come in a little bit sharper, a little bit quicker. Yeah. What Astralis was doing there was good. They had themselves spread out all across the top floor. They were trying to catch that single player, but he just kept on being that one step ahead. If that's the difference of a player that's warmed up with an active game already once today or not, that's something where you might start to see those slip a little bit further away. A handful of attacker repicks on the left-hand side. The most curious, obviously, being the Ying. How they're going to try and roll and rock those Candelas in, potentially over towards the push onto Cafe, or maybe a direct line towards the site itself. I guess that's only for Forest to know.
Yeah, of course, and you know, they might have a strategy and it could just fall apart based on how the entry kills will be starting to play out here. But what we do know, though, is that the Wolves and the Astralis played before. Back then it was a 10-on-5 attack versus defense kind of ratio, with Astralis being able to find one more extra defensive round. So keep that in mind. It might be the other way around this time, where we again go to a maximum kind of OT, really depending on who's going to be able to get the better attacking health out of it here. Drones are being taken out. It's important information denied from the side of Astralis here, so that will give Bibu an opportunity to play around a little bit more safely here.
This is where I said we might see that bit of a Ying here across the checkerboard floor. Everything becomes bright white light, and you're going to find yourself with a direct line through onto the site. There's the rotation towards the left-hand side you've got to be aware of, and the potential of the chassis, as we see, he's aware of. He's not playing subtle. He doesn't have to at this point. They might not know that it's a Ying, but they know somebody's up there. And that's the cause for concern. They have to keep themselves with a bit of an eye tuned onto it, so it requires the pressure from Astralis elsewhere. A bit of width here, over towards the cash room and the setup on the far side. You've also got a bit of presence, I think, around the cafe bit too. Yep, there it is. They're just making sure they have a little bit more control. Another wide take, but rather than go for a player, they're going for space this time.
Trying to take the Dragon under control. You see them pre-firing here and there. We'll find out. No one is currently in that position. And as they start headed onwards throughout the map, they will find some bandit wires that have been deployed on some reinforcements, and that suddenly becomes a bit of an issue, because how are you going to get rid of them? There is no Thatcher, there is no Maverick. You do not really have an opportunity to get a grenade around the corner. Here is DP is going to be taking a very aggressive gunfight here. Rather receives it, but no one takes any damage.
Mowgli. Well, he's had an idea, and that's going to be to roam around underneath, put a bit of a stretch in. There's a minute on the clock. He has time to go around to Dragon, but if Astralis put a little bit of the pedal to the metal, suddenly he might find the site falling away, so actually pulls back. A Nitro, close quarters, Throne doesn't get the full catch, pre-fires the angle, they slip on by the pings. There's now a player at the bottom of yellow stairs, though. A little bit of a push, and Mowgli bites back. Forest off the board, with Rise getting one more. J90 is gone, but it's Iconic! Up the stairs for a quick double, pre-fires for the third. They're buried behind. They're around on the side of the arcade cabinets, can't quite get the full connection. Hop foots and goes around to the other side of the other stairs. Arcade is the new approach to see if he can play a game over there instead. Bibu's got the lockdown here behind the chassis, but look at the kit. It's cold on the roof. There's no way for them to get that back in their hands. They've got to go for blood and blows here, and they're going to see if they can light up entirely blue on the site to spray through. Waiting for the approach. There it is. The push, the catch. There's one. There's the second almost. Not quite. Iconic with the triple on the other side of the stairs. Has to make an ace, but he can't quite get it.
Diffuser was dropped down on the roof as well, indeed, as mentioned before. And there we have a second round coming in. They got quite close, Emmy. They were getting towards this side. The kills were starting to head towards the right direction. But Wolves able to just lock it off in the end there. It's Bibu that just suddenly popped up, decided to, you know what, I heard something. Let me just take a step into the hallway. Sees one, takes a lot of damage down onto the second player as well. And suddenly it all falls into their camp. And it's a 2-0. And they're still looking to build.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many
Well, now we're onto the third site. Now we're onto the place where, to be honest, if Astralis are going to have a bit of ground to make up, it is this, the tertiary. As we said, the 4-2 is the most common, the most familiar way that this map likes to swing into the defender's favor. And to be honest, sometimes those statistics reign truest on an international setting where you don't really have that full idea of how you go against each other. You don't have anything for Wolves at this point. They haven't played this in regulation over the past 3 months, which includes pretty much all the time it's been back in. And if you go back far enough, the roster was entirely different as the players who put boots to the ground, but so was the meta. So this is fresh data, and they've at least got some onto theme. We said it might be a gamble. Sometimes you got to take your blind luck shots.
I mean, it's not the first time where we see teams just not play a map throughout their regular seasons at any given moment, and then they just show up on a major, and they steal the stars away, potentially here from Astralis at this moment in time. 2-0 for Wolves. But that's kind of how it started off yesterday as well. I believe it was a 3-0 lead that the Wolves were able to put up on the board, and after that, the fight back started to occur. So it's far from over yet. It's not like these 2 rounds. I mean, you said it before as well, it's the defense side of the map are going to be making a difference here. It's this tertiary site where Astralis really need to be picking up the round.
Now, Astralis, as I said, they haven't been entirely locked out of this, but they've definitely been a little bit colder on the approach. It's tough. You're starting on your attacks. It's your first game of the day. These aren't the easiest ways to ease into a game of Siege. You can see Iconic got a little bit of a start and a spark on the previous round, but here they're going to see if they can turn that into a little bit more of a blaze, led by DP Fire. The close nook on the approach round on the opposite side. He's looking for the swing, but there's 2 ADSs and a man behind a shield. A bit of a pre-fire. The angle finds one, saw a second, and the last sliver of that but pulled back already. Now the reveal is in. Hey, it's Astralis. We're here at the top of your Red Dragon stairs. We're causing problems. P4 wants to lean back in. The pop of the fire means he can't quite get the angle. Just misses the player. He's in a hyper-aggressive position at this point. Mowgli stacked up for the double. There's the spray onto the nook. Can't get the full connection. Caught out by Iconic, but Mowgli found DP Fire. Looking for a little bit of safety. They're holding on. The rappel, and he's getting hyper-aggressive. He wants to make sure they don't know where he is. They do now. The drone catch on one. The burner, the flash round on the corner. He's going to see if he can get the hop in on the window, but it's a big gun in hands that are very good with it. On that, they're waiting with a stack up there. It's a spray through. J90 gets one. Forrest goes down to Mowgli in the swing. Can't quite get Iconic, though. He's still firing his way through. It's down to Shinka. The 3 versus 1 has some canisters in pocket, but they have so much time to try and hold out. A great take onto the spray round, onto the corner. Doesn't have any more bullets on it, so has to pull his way back. They know where he is. They know where they've pushed him to, and they know the rotations they need to keep an eye on, but the hot pings are causing problems. There it is. J90 locks in the first Astralis round.
A well-tied angle held here at the end. For a second, I was afraid he might have been pushing forward in the side after that first gunfight came through, and unfortunately was unable to find any victims. But it is Astralis that will be able to find their first round on the 3rd of this game. And it's the tertiary side, I just mentioned it as well. They need to win this one on a map like Theme to keep themselves inside the competition. So well done by them here. And now back towards the throne room. Let's see if they've learned anything.
Well, this is it. We saw them get into the grounds. We obviously saw the movement there of DP Fire over the top of Dragon Stairs as the Nook entirely picked up a free kill there just by playing the operator how they got to be played. And that is something that they didn't really do on their opening rounds. They tried to go with the big glove. They had a catch of 5 fingers all the way across the top of the map, and they slipped through. Yeah, they dropped it, went down. They got the...
Got it in the end.
I'm trying to think of baseball terms. I don't know baseball well enough.
I don't know.
I was trying to make a baseball thing.
It's not really.
It's a home run for them because they dropped the ball.
I don't know if you get a home run if you get a drop ball.
No, but it gives you more option to run. Mowgli loved to run. He hit the 4 bases.
Attackers must locate
I don't know baseball as well.
You barely know sports.
I know a bunch of sports.
You know F1.
I know football. Hockey.
Soccer, I think you mean.
Football.
Let's not. let's not anger the Americans when we're here on their hallowed turf, and Astralis have just been able to pull their first. It looked good, is the moral of the story, because it was a change of pace, in that the pace was internal. The pace was inside the building. They realized that, well, maybe we just got to toe-to-toe with these fights, because they sure can take them. And that was the start of them biting back. Mowgli, he's a little bit alive right now. And that's a big sort of point for Wolves, because in a couple of games that they've lost, he definitely hasn't been.
Just look at BDS, right? He was really struggling to get it.
He's already got 2 more kills than he did in the entire BDS game.
I mean, it took him a half before he was able to find his first kill there. So him being alive right now, you instantly see the difference here. Just 1-2, and yeah, sure, they still lost a round, but the 2 they won looked a little bit more confident and comfortable compared to the ones that they have lost against BDS.
DP Fire once again going for a bit of the Nook play, caught out from the bottom of red stairs. It doesn't matter if the camera sees you, if a player's the one that got the true adventure there, a big bite out. They obviously have the finger. They can get them healed up a little bit more, but you don't really want to use those just for that sort of situation. Although, if they are leading in with some of the angle and aggression, at least it's sort of made a statement. Here, a very different bit of control. They've been able to get themselves in the building, as I said, a different style of approach, but to be fair, it's a different hold from Wolves. They don't have that loose player so directly around on the second story. They've got themselves all tucked in the throne room.
Yeah, it's 2 completely different kinds of approaches we've seen from the defensive team here. One where they were very heavy on that roam, and now where they're looking to just turtle in. And of course, both have their advantages, both have their disadvantages. But I think that Wolves, after it was so successful in that first round, they probably know that Astralis is going to do everything in their power to try and stop someone like Mowgli, to just make those kind of battles happen. And of course, that first kill you had, it's also partially luck.
Well, that was it. It was a spray through a soft. It got a reward. Mowgli's going to see if he can slip on by with a bit of cover and support here from P4. 2 players that do enjoy the roam. It is the spray through they can do. It's the reveal too. There's a Nook. Hey, how you doing? There's a drop grenade. Pulls out of there and goes into a locker room. There's nowhere else to go. But there's P4 on the cover and the support. The pre-fire does a lot of damage to the thermite. And there's the pickup from the second. Finds the third. The bottom of the stairs. And that is why they have the support system. Keep your buddy close, because your enemies are closer. Mowgli gets 1 more. Shuttle has everything to do. And there's some energy from the end of the board.
Proper ambush set up there around the lockers area. As they were able to get that first kill, they decided to, you know what, let's just go a bit more aggressive there, see if there's anybody else. Dig inside the lockers, let them hunt me down, and have my cover provide for me. 3-1 for the Wolves. As we have attack timeout coming in for the side of Astralis here, having a little bit of a chat, because there is still the Bone Stays coming up, possibly initiation as well to be chosen in just a couple of rounds as well. They need to make sure they find a second, and hopefully for them a third. They do not want to be slipping here on Theme Park. And after we quickly witness the quick flurry of frags that came through from the side of Wolves, the energy as well. They're just not howling yet. This is the next step, I think.
I mean,
the slow motion makes it all better, by the way.
I love it. Slow-mo, zooms, give me all of that. And I think that's the thing. Astralis, they're being pushed a little bit right now. They're not quite in on the pace. As I said, if you're looking at your sort of first game of the day and you're looking at a first half to help you get into the pace of this tournament, Attack on Theme is kind of low on the list of ones you want. Attack on Theme is heavy. It's slow, and that worry and concern of pace is one that adds a level of doubt. You're looking at, you know, if you've got other quicker maps, if you're playing on Border, if you're playing on sort of Oregon or Club, which everyone knows very familiar, there's a lot that you don't have to think about, because you just do. You just know. Theme is heavy thoughts, heavy map, a lot to do, and also we've just got into this first. They played warm-ups, but nothing warms you up more than this.
I mean, it was also basically like, I don't know. But it's also like Villa when it just came in. Attack, not really something people wanted to go for. To this day, you still see Villa not being picked up as often as you might want to see due to those kind of situations in the end where, you know, you have to start off on the attack if you are the one that chooses the map. And some teams just do not feel as comfortable with that.
I think that's also the split. And if you didn't see, we're just having a very quick rehost there.
Yeah.
Attack time out a little bit longer, and it's we'll be back in the game as soon as it's a moment. Obviously, they can't talk to their coaches. They can sort of get their heads back on. They can try and get themselves a little bit more locked in. The defense in this spot, as is often cited, they, when timeouts sort of happen, it's more likely to help attackers as a general rule. Obviously, it varies team to team, but as a general rule, if you've got a break and play, attackers favor it a little bit more because there's more you can adapt and change and respond to. That is what your attack is, a response towards a defense. You're not setting up an attack and the defenders are building against you. No. Siege is the other way around.
It's the defenders that create a puzzle that needs to be solved by the attackers. If you create the puzzle as the attacker itself, you're not doing a very good job at doing your...
That's a very confusing way of playing.
It's a very confusing way to make the puzzle for yourself there. But either way, 3-1. Currently, Wolves are in favor. The previous time these two played was in the groups yesterday. 8-7 victory for Astralis. And I was sitting backstage back then with Blue, with Stokes, and it's actually good for Astralis that they're receiving a little bit of a challenge right now from the side of Wolves. And you saw them living up to it as well. They were playing out of their minds, and that might have actually helped them in their second game of the day as well. Just taking that double victory as the only team that has been able to do so far.
Now, I'm not entirely sure of the true stats of what we had just before we came into it, but I can sort of give you vague ideas that Mowgli and P4 were having a very good sort of growth into this game.
Yeah.
And then Iconic had started. He's always going to be a player that, when you have a hype video specifically for a single player,
there's a reason for it.
There's a reason for it, but there's also expectations. And sometimes, even if you're having a good game, that is for a lot of other people a great game, it feels like a moment of and it's a little bit extra pressure that you've always got to sort of take on to your head and take onto that bit of momentum here. I don't think the others on the team were positive. The only one who might be off the top of my head again is J90.
Could be.
I could be wrong about that. I think they're struggling to get into the pace and the place of this game. And, well, let's see if the timeout that they took a tack timeout just before the tack timeout. So they have had a time to talk. If it's something that gives them around here, because Bunk Daycare, if they can take this, then suddenly they're in at least a position of maybe a 3-3 half.
Then they're in an opportunity to fight for a 3-3 indeed. If they don't, then that 3-3 is instantly off the board, because they would be on 4 points on the other side. I gotta say it. I'm sorry.
Say it.
But Shuttle wasn't wrapping the Astralis card.
You pointed it out now.
I'm pointing it out now.
Okay, if you don't know, there's a thing where if you have a team card and not everybody's using it, it's a bad omen.
It's a bad omen.
You gotta all use the team card for every art.
You're throwing the opportunity of this round right now. So
Only
it's
if
over
they'll
already.
win now. I mean, they might be able to break
they
the
could
team
break
card
the
curse.
omen.
This is an EU thing.
Maybe
it doesn't stretch to NA. I guess we'll find out. I need to call Mr. Jesse J chat.
See if he can quickly run
He'll
the
be here at
numbers on
some
that.
point. He's hanging around with Milos right now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, doing a Milos stream. Hi Milos, hi Jesse.
Hope you're enjoying yourselves with the co-stream.
We are.
We always are.
Anyway, 3-1. Wolves, they've been able to build a bit of a sort of hold here. It's not been entirely into their hand, and it's still early doors. It's an early take here. Astralis think they can get a little bit more out of their attack. There's been a bit of a juggle of operators. Forest is now obviously bringing the Nook instead of DP Fire, who's instead on the Iana. Iconic is sitting on the Finker, a roll and LMG that they know how to swing around corners and get the most out of it. A quick break and a quick bout of pressure. They're getting themselves set up. Last time they tried to go for a bit of a Ying execute, but the Ying was dropped before they could even pop, I think, a single Candela. So they're going to a plan B.
2 minutes 10 on the clock. No one really in the building. Yeah, and that is always a bit worrying, but they might want to go for a quick kind of approach here. Iconic in the meantime below is looking to go up these yellow stairs. Might be able to catch off 1 or 2 players again, like we saw the last time around the bunk. In the end, it didn't really matter that much, but this could be the difference that they need if they're able to do it a bit quicker this time around.
Mowgli catches the drone that's just on the top and decides to see if there's anybody else outside. He's been pretty consistent in this game of, you're there, I want to kill you. He keeps leaning into the fights. You can see that there's a steady appearance of these drones across the board, but only 4 left. J90 gets the most of one of them. There's DP Fire getting a pickup. The change of the hands of the kid itself. He's down inside, but look at this. Everything is coming up Astralis. They push their way up the stairs. They're flawless as the response to the timeout.
You know, quickly put down a dot for the entry kill, and suddenly the round was over. That's how quick it was. Those 5 kills came in just a couple of seconds, 10, 20, maybe 30. But with that, a flawless round. That's exactly how you need to respond after a tactical, and then of course a technical as well. You just mentioned it before. And this is where they have that 3-3 opportunity. This is where they can make a big difference here, because they were able to fight back after being on the deficit the last time around against the Wolves. And if they manage to equalize the score now, then go over to the defense themselves here on Theme Park, it might be a very swift ordeal for Astralis picking up yet another victory here.
That's what we sort of said. We framed it as you're looking for that 4-2 split. What I love about Astralis is the sort of multi-pronged push there. It came through so suddenly from so many different places. Wolves didn't know how to react, because before you look at the approach of Astralis, and sure, they had themselves set up, but it was usually a singular point was the drive, and the rest were just in a position to try and catch them. Here, they booted in the ground on several different bits of the ground, and they made sure that the Wolves were well aware of that, unfortunately, by the method of shooting them in the face. So at this point, it's something where they're going to have to be a little bit more keyed in and tuned on. A bit of a change in terms of how they're approaching this. Mowgli is a little bit further adrift and wider. He's going to see if he can bite back, but to be fair for Astralis, one's for the road, and two, can they double it down?
Yeah, so they're choosing to go bunk again. So Mowgli and the rest of the Wolves, they need to find something to change what just happened. Because Astralis, well, they just found a magnificent recipe for success there and are looking to find and reuse some of the components of that attack in their next one here. And if Mowgli's just going to be able to roam around a little bit, provide some trouble, it doesn't necessarily have to pick up some of these kills, but as a second gun gets used to open up that barricade, eventually, it will open up. And Iconic being in the bottom floor here, I'm not sure where Mowgli currently is, but he was roaming around earlier. I returned to the side. I was going to say, he might be looking to take a fight on that bottom floor.
No, he's sort of been pulling himself around on the second story throughout this round so far. He's giving himself a bit of a stretch eventually towards Dragon, pulled himself via computer back towards the safety of the site. They want to make sure that if it's another quick push, they're in a position to at least go for the trades, because a flawless is a big blow. Forest, once again with the Nook that's been driven very well, is going so far, all the way up towards the initiation side. They now have themselves locked in against the wall of the site. You can see Shuttle is in a position to potentially try and swing a grenade over towards anything on that wall, but at the same time, they're not really going for the hard breach. They're instead going with a heavy grenade-driven push here all the way through onto the door, takes the damage, goes for the swing, finds one, sees the second, keeps going. Forrest is able to get it locked down. P4 in the meantime accidentally takes out one of his own, rises off the board. It's another 5 versus 1. Mowgli can find at least something to stop two flawlesses in a row. Finds a second behind the train, can't get the next. And Astralis with a quick response, find an even half.
Was about to be running out of ammo there as well, Mowgli. I mean, he did everything he could. He got 2 of those kills, needed to go for the reload. That moment was being pushed again. But Forrest here, absolutely at the right timing, gets the first and the second. But of course, a little bit of help of P4 as well, leaves it only up to Mowgli. The Magician, as Desertu calls him, wasn't able to work his magic just now. And we're 3-3, we're in a site swap, and round 7 to be in the way. And again, a missing operator cart. It is what it is.
They're proving you wrong, though.
They're proving me wrong. That's what I don't like.
You got to get out of your technical correct.
The lamp coming up, and that is a site I haven't seen played many times before.
It's a bit awkward, it's a bit uncomfortable, it's a bit tight. That's the big problem with it. It's very quick to have access, and then if you're looking at vertical control, well, Cafe is a pretty standard approach for a lot of teams on a lot of different sites anyway, so you're well versed in how to find your way through it. The combination of the Aruni and the Frost, you got the Melusi, you got everything to make it awkward to get in, and then you've got the Warden as a sort of support line. No smoke plays, pushes and plants. A big change from the Wolves here on their attacker repick. They've picked themselves up, obviously the Flores is a big drone that can get rid of a huge pocket of utility on the opposite side, and might put a little bit more work into the pocket of Forest. Add to the Pulse and the C4s though that are playing around the board, and Astralis might be able to keep themselves a little bit at arm's length with this hold.
Yeah, for sure, but they definitely put a lot of utility towards those 2 windows, which function as jump-ins to the actual site or the bathroom at that. And just a single Flores drone is going to be able to get rid of most pieces of utility. Just look at this. If he puts it in the right way, that is going to be 2 Frostmats and a Banshee all gone. There it is. So that means they can just jump in now, and there's nothing that will give that information towards the side of Astralis.
Very quick, very sudden. They knew what they wanted to do, and they knew how they were going to do it. They're going to send another drone through. It's just hopped over, activated on the far side. There it is. It probably won't get that shield, but will get the frost mat. That gets the shield, that's for sure. There's nobody back there. A couple of grenades were used just to see if they could get the stretch. And, well, there's a player. Iconic swings through, gets a double, finds his way back onto the site via the method he knows best, which is to just kill anybody between him and it. Now stacked up suddenly, they've lost Mowgli and P4, who since the rehost haven't quite been able to have the same confidence and bravado and putting the pressure across the map itself. Shinka with a slow creep round onto the bottom of the yellow stairs is seeing if he can try and catch the tail end of a player that has long since left.
Just trying to hold on. Here's a 3-5 situation. A great comeback towards the site there from Iconic again. Mentioning it there, like he's able to find both those gun fights where he probably should have been able to find only one as he returned. Shinka takes a little bit of damage. He makes his position known as well as trying to sneak around, but probably will not know or will not be aware of the player that's right behind the throne there. As Force takes small amounts of damage, rises up top. It is still a lot that needs to be done by the Wolves here, and yet they're only trying to find some way in.
Bibu tries to take the fight over the top. DP fire goes down, Shinka locks in, but there is still another player around Throne. J90 is on the far side of the structure itself. There's a bit of a pre-fire. I'm not sure if they entirely know where he is, but with a minute left, they don't have too much time to try and find out. He has a long stretch, a long angle, and a couple of pings on a player that isn't the one they're looking towards. Split is actually the angle they're expecting the fight from. But again, that timer is ticking. 2 players on the site are a problem, sure. But so is that one they forgot about before. J90 gets that take, drops Shinka. They still have the kit in pocket, but they know they can't keep that loose thread. They have an idea on where a player is. A second steps in, but the right decision. They've moved off. There's the pop around the other side. It's a dance. It's attention. It's focus. It's 30 seconds. There's one in the corridor that goes their way, but now it is just Bibu left. Tries to take the fight with the player he knew at, but it's locked in. And Astralis, for the first time this game, find themselves in the lead.
And it all comes back to Iconic, you know, at that start, returning to the bathroom, getting one, finding a second, suddenly it's a 5-on-3 situation. You see it happen on your screens right now. Just a perfect timing right there. And yes, some heads were spotted, some clicks could have been made, but in the end, it's Astralis that finds the lead, as you mentioned, for the first time in this series, and are looking to find a second win against the Wolves here. That way, they will be putting themselves in a good position. That way, they will be making sure that Wolves is not going to be a problem anymore later on if there would be a tie in terms of head-to-head. So Astralis really doing some good business here.
It's also not just a matter of, obviously, how important this could be for Astralis, of cementing themselves in first, but Wolves. If they lose points on this map, regardless of whether it's all 3, a 2, or a 1, you find yourself suddenly in the situation of, well, we're losing pace with BDS ahead of us, who have already beaten us once.
Yeah.
We have, obviously, another fight with the team that's 4th in groups, but only 2 escaped groups. It's not like other tournaments that we've seen where only 1 victim falls. This is everything to keep them inside the fight itself. And sure, it's against the team that is currently sitting towards the top. And with a win here, I think would cement themselves locked in, but I guess it's all still to play for.
It is all still to play for, indeed, and it is just always so sad that 2 teams get to go home. We don't get to see them play on the main stage, but that's the nature of the competition, right? Like, we do need to eliminate teams at some point, and let's have a performer go home. And at this moment, Astralis, they're performing quite well. They got 2 wins under the belt. They're looking for their 3rd. No losses yet. And the Wolves, well, they need those points. They're starting to lag behind. But there's still plenty of rounds to go, Emmy. So it's only round 8 right now. So there is still an opportunity. However, we also mentioned it beforehand. It's a defense-side map. And they kind of need to get those 4 rounds on their defense. They failed to do that. And that leaves Astralis in this pole position for the remainder of the time.
It's the tricky situation here for Wolves. Astralis have heated up. As I said at the beginning, it makes sense that they're going to come in a little bit colder because they've not come off the back of a game. But they've since found that energy, and it's across-the-board energy as well. It's not that they have a single star player who's flying away with it. Since the rehost, they've all been able to dig their teeth in. They've all been able to find their engagements. They've all been able to get in the faces of Wolves, which is where they were struggling before. They got a little bit lost in the source of where else it could be going. Mowgli with the grenade, bounce around to the far side, looking for the fight. It's inside the bathroom. There's a bit of a tracer that's just put ahead of them. They're disco dancing either side. J90 can't quite find the shot on the far end, but as the drone rolls it around, DP5 is doing his best to just keep a presence high.
Now the Monty is the true thing that I'm looking at right here. It could be such a difference in pace, and as he is about to start pushing in right here, DP also knows that he's under quite some pressure at this moment in time. It's just basically an indestructible drone that is going to be walking around and giving away information to the rest of the Wolves, and as J90 takes quite a bit of damage right there from trying to challenge the Monty, it's DP Fire right now that's receiving a challenge himself.
Mowgli's got in so close, finds P4 on the swing round, going with the pistol! DP Fire finds the second, the Monty is alone, and you see Astralis knows this. Forrest finds Shinker in the meantime, Bibu is suffering, scarped and pushed back out, Rise on the shoulder. Astralis did it all far away from the site itself. They didn't let them in the building.
Well, they got into the building shortly, but quickly shut out afterwards indeed. They knew the Monty was going to be followed up by people trying to put pressure elsewhere. You're not going to be shooting over the back of that shield. You're going to be trying to find alternate angles to put the pressure down. And a shuttle finds him here. He decides to run off. There's no need to challenge him. He might be alone. He might be having some company there. But at this moment in time, just let him be. Let them waste time. And try and make sure that you have that side under control. And it definitely seems to be the case. I mean, it's a 5-on-2 situation here. Astralis is looking to be very close to put them up to 5 rounds as well.
Well, Rise is getting intel on where the players are, but Astralis has decided that they want to head back to the home. There's a bit of a stretch over towards Lab. They've obviously got a player in barrels, but what's a Monty to do? This gets shot from 2 different sides, knifed and dropped. They need the support of Rise, but they don't get it. DP Fire with his 3rd, and Shuttle for the 2nd flawless in 3 rounds here for Astralis.
That's another flawless, yeah. I mean, that is definitely going to be starting to hurt the Wolves, and they've used their tactical timeout. There is nothing left they can do, but talking between themselves here. Just looking at it there, the pistol on the Ana, that hurts, but that first kill onto the Zofia, up onto the Dragon top hallway there, that is... Also the slow-mos on the moment they start screaming are just comedic effect every single time. Catch me off guard. Either way, 5-3, and you see Iconic now, you know, he just took a Legion, was able to force the Monty back a little bit with it, and he's like, well, considering they did just try and take it once, there's an opportunity they do try and take it again. Not that it was super successful, but if they do, you have at least an operator that is able to deal with that situation by putting some goo mines underneath his feet.
Astralis, they've been able to thread 4 rounds in a row, 2 on either side of the turn of the half, 1 more, and they guarantee themselves at least a point. It's down to Wolves to see if they can bite back in. A bit of a change here across the repick, obviously. No Jaeger. They'll potentially read that and see if they might be able to push a couple of these grenades in. 4, which is a fair amount, but we often saw Astralis bringing 6. They knew how they wanted to try and approach this game, and they're more than happy to lean into the firefight since they've started doing that. Well, they've threaded 4 rounds in a row. P4 and Mowgli. Once again, the duo is up for a bit of pace here, trying to apply themselves towards Arcade Window. Mowgli suffers quite a lot through it. As I said, they lean into the fire. Astralis wants to make sure everybody gets burnt.
Quickly using the Gemini replicator there, seeing if there's any information he can gather. So as they open up the cafe door, he wants to enter but doesn't get quite far. Drones as well being taken out here and there, and a lot of the information game that they would have on the side of Wolves is just quickly being dispatched off. With J90 playing close on that cafe door as well. It's just going to be very hard if it wasn't for that grenade. Almost catching off DP there. They know where he is. Another grenade comes in, but that won't be able to connect either.
It's the deep heat of DP that's trying to find some semblance of safety, but when you live amongst the fire, as I said, you're going to get burnt, blown up. Mowgli over the top is able to lock it and stop anything else from being able to drive back in. But Iconic, very quick to look for a new place in position. They're a little bit concerned, a little bit jittery in terms of the approach. Underneath in the movements towards the hatch itself, Cafe is well handed over, but not too convincingly. And this is the thing, Astralis, they tried to meet them at the make. They had them as that first bit of approach. Rise wanted to bait a swing, wanted to see if anybody came through. No one quite got the full reveal. Another play and just missed the edge. There's the back, there's the reveal, there's a take, and there's a second.
Yeah, finds the back of J9O there. Is going to be able to secure that kill. Forrest under a bit of pressure here as drones start to come around the corner. They know of his position. Iconic, though, goes more aggressive and finds one. Shuttle, in the meantime, taking pressure as well. But he will be coming out on top. There's another player inside of the cafe. He gets pistol whipped by Iconic. And it's a 3-on-2. And Astralis is looking to go to match point.
It's 2, it's 1, it's now, it's done. Wolves, they're just able to find the lock-in at the end there. Iconic started to make those moves that have made him live up to his namesake throughout the year of Siege so far, but they are not just against anybody. They are some classic players on the other side, and Bibu, he's doing his best to remind them of that. It was a back and forth, but it's also the tertiary site. As we said at the very start of this, a 4-2 is a standard split. It's not just about making the connections here. Wolves have to see if they can find it on the tougher to put together sites. Lab was the opener, and Lab's actually where we're going to double ourselves down here. Astralis are going to see if they can try and make the movements. Once again, we might have a couple of repicks here, because once again, we've got the Frost combination with the Aruni and the Malusi.
Like the Malusi being set up now, you know, as an extra PC utility, they need to make sure to get rid of. Throw something through, because a drone is going to get zapped instead. But Astralis so close there to a match point, Emmy. I mean, they just managed to bring it back from a 3-on-5 to a 3-on-2 situation. And then, you know, one of those iconic old players, you said, Bibu, I believe, all the way from the Xbox came over, decided, you know what? A Farmhouse is a pretty good gun. And I have only 26 bullets, but that is enough to get a triple K with one magazine. I managed to bring Wolves back into it a little bit here, but still on the back foot, still one round behind, and they'll be looking to redeem that now, because the last time they were around here, it was Iconic that came in, picked up a double kill, and that round was over from that moment onwards.
Mowgli putting a bit of range and pressure here. There's a little bit more of a width to the approach. Last time they tried to funnel themselves in directly towards the site, saw an opportunity, but as I said, it was a bite back in. Wolves, they suffered at the hands of Iconic before finding a double and getting himself drifted all the way back into the site. Still going to do the prep work they want to do. Unfortunately, they're going to have to burn that through. There was nobody else to offer the support that they needed. They're hoping they can get a catch on a player that might be paying attention, but nobody is otherwise. You can see Astralis has given themselves a bit of width on the hold onto the site itself. They're not entirely watching the windows because they know there's more work to be done on the doors.
An impact nade used there, or was it a frag grenade?
I'm
not quite sure, but they destroyed the RC Retiro and the drone that was coming in there. So if it was, big misplay coming through, because that is the second RC Retiro drone misused, not being able to get anything rid of. And I believe now finally they got rid of a Frostmat with one of them, but that means there's only one left as well.
It was so much cleaner for them before, and well, those little disconnects are going to be a bit of a struggle later. Shinka's watching on the far side to make sure they don't suffer the same rotation that absolutely punished them before. They're in the window. They're in the door. They're looking for the grenade round onto the backside. They're hoping it gets the catch, and it does. Mowgli, twice in a row, is able to open it up, and now he's seeing if he can find a second. They're in with the kit, and they're going to cover on the corner. Bibu fires back. They're looking for that close corners cover there, and it's coming through. The fire over the top. They're dancing, dipping, weaving, and dodging, but they can't get the full connection. There it is!
A Nitro!
Iconic with the Nitro makes the kit go cold, and that is suddenly Astralis biting back once again. They are sitting on map point.
The diffuser was almost able to go down, and Nitro comes in, gets one, and the injure on the person getting the diffuser on the ground. And with that, it's match point, and with that, if my calculations are correct, it's the first entry kill that doesn't translate into the round. Keep on bringing it up.
You're obsessed.
I'm obsessed with it. But that Nitro cell is so important because everything seemed to be going towards the Wolves side. Everything seemed to be within grasp to bring it back to 5-5, and suddenly one explosive package attached to a Nokia phone decides to just fly in and end all your hopes and dreams.
Back to throne is where Astralis are going to find themselves trying to cement a full 3 points. And it's a worry for Wolves because this is not an easy way to get themselves into the building. That is where they struggled most on the second story. They tried to find themselves in on the room that we hover over, and, well, they did. for all of about 5 seconds before they were very quickly rebuffed by the guns of DP Fire. Now it's seeing if maybe they'll go for a slightly different approach, potentially a take over the top of Cafe. They want to get the vertical control and force the play that way. They've got the Monty back on the board as well. Bibu has been that biting force over the past couple of rounds though, so forcing him to be watching through a shield, is it the right decision? It's only one that Wolves can make.
It is. What are they going to do? Because the pressure is truly on now. That last round seemed like it could have been theirs. And now they're attacking the throne room. And of course, it is a site where last time also decided by a flawless round. It's not really something they'll be looking forward to play here. They need to find a way to quickly dispatch of the Astralis players. To find someone, isolate them, make sure they have that advantage on the board. And with 30, 40 seconds even already having passed, grenades and utility are being eaten as well by those ADSs just placed down. And Bibu now on that Monty, I mean, he wants to push through. However, we know how that ended last time around when they tried to play around it.
Well, that's it. DP Fire's holding and holding on. And, well, he watches the Monty go by. And he says bye-bye to Mowgli, takes his head off, once again isolates that player, and with way less stress than before, a couple of impacts towards the feet of Bibu, pushing back just a little. But he's still standing and still stood in the corner. But what else do you do with it? As I said, he has been that gun that has actually been able to do some damage over the past couple of rounds, and now he can just sort of bystander and hope that the other 3 left remaining can do something.
I'm going to say, indeed, like he's just standing there, and Astralis know it. They have 2 people close. There's nothing really he can do. He's just going to sit in the corner, wait for someone to make a mistake, but at the same time, Astralis is trying to take the gunfight to every single body that the Wolves still have left. And the grills are starting to come in, but the diffuser gets dropped. It's a 4-on-3. The Monty is quite low. P4 gets taken out as well. That's the end of the Monty. Rise is the last man standing on the Jackal in a 1v4 situation. Is this the second loss against Astralis? Yes, it is. They take the 3 points, and they are putting themselves even higher at the top of the group.
Astralis, yeah, pop off. You earned it. So far this tournament, they have been exceptional. A couple of cold rounds is to be expected, but since then, oh, they came in hot and pushed this theme as another success story. I do not believe they are qualified yet confirmed. I would have to rerun the numbers, but they are the closest out of anybody this tournament, knocking on the door of playoffs.
They're getting really close here. That is for sure. And if all the other results go their way, they might not even have to play anymore to qualify themselves. That is the kind of luxury they are currently in. But Astralis really surprising many here. People might have been, okay, how are they going to be doing on their land? How are they going to be doing on this international pressure? Well, you just saw it right there with ease.
We'll have a look at more of that in depth after a very quick break. We'll be back in a second. welcome back as we find ourselves here at the end of another Astralis win. This time, another full 3 points. And I said at the beginning, their quote that I loved was, "We're going to take over France." They're proving themselves right. That's 3 times.
3 times I've managed to beat them indeed. And they'll be more than happy with that here as we quickly go over those highlights, because there were plenty as they really popped off on the side of Astralis here and there. Of course, there were some great moments on the side of the Wolves as well. For example, Bibu with the 3K on the farmhouse. That was round number 9, but also the ambush in lockers that we saw earlier in round 4. Neither thrown on their defense. Just one blast kill, by the way.
I mean, it was just good from Astralis. The way they stepped back in. Wolves had to fight. Wolves have had to fight the whole series, the whole tournament, but they haven't quite been able to lock it in. And that's the big risk. When you're in a group with so much caliber that this has, you're trying to find that little bit extra, and it's Astralis have really just shown why they were the top seed. It has been such an impressive run.
It's been a very impressive run. The first team as well to get those 3 victories. They were the first to get 2, so they are continuing that tradition. And yeah, they came in from the North American League. They qualified, and everybody's like, you know, they might have a good shot, but are they going to be able to continue doing so? And again, yes, they are. Just look at Iconic. 13 kills there, but so many important moments as well. I think I've written down his name like 3-4 times, where a massive double kill just came in and basically changed the whole round.
The important thing to look at there is also the opening kill. You're having Mowgli try and be the driving force, and he sort of had to be unsure. He was playing better than he was before. But on the side of Astralis, what I loved and what I complimented them about during the game is it was a multifaceted approach. They were all in positions where they were happy to take fights. They are all always in positions where they love to fight. And they forgot that at the very beginning. They tried to play a bit of width. They still did that later, but they made sure they were in a position to find the fight behind it. Another impressive game from the NA roster. America, y'all should be proud.
You can definitely be proud indeed of your team, because they are doing amazing. Still some games for them to go, but as we said, they are the closest to being qualified for the playoffs. With the crowd on the grand stage that is being built up right behind us. You can't see it. We can take our sneak peeks.
Oh,
so
I'll tell you right about it. Oh no. We got to go to a break. I'm sorry.
That's
I'm sorry.
unfortunate.
We'll
Next
tell you about
time.
it later. For now, a quick break before we're back with Game 3 and 2 other casters, maybe Parker and Pengu. It is. It is.